Yo, tapping in real quick for this UFC 309 that's fitting to take place Saturday evening in Madison Square Garden, where that main event is a highly anticipated, long time in the making, heavyweight bang out between two UFC legends. It's been a long time coming, man. Questions will get answered, and with the exception of us losing David Onama versus Lucas Almeida, and Nikita Krylov versus Azamat Murakanov, if I'm saying all of that right, you know what I'm talking about. We still have a fairly decent card, man, as far as action and good fights, and making some good money, man. This video right here, this is the parlay video. You know what I'm talking about? We gonna chop it up, something light, nothing major, for the prelims, for the main card, for the whole card. We'll talk about a haymaker or a Hail Mary or two, and we'll talk about, what dog plays I feel like are worth talking about. You understand what I'm saying to you? And, it is what it is, man. I'm a bit more excited about this card, last night's card, not so much so as far as betting and parlaying is concerned, due to the fact that, a lot of those good money lines got cut. Dalby versus Zaleski, Cody versus motherfucking Miles, and then the live dog and Ricky versus Sopaj. I almost didn't want to tap in and do the parlay video the other day. You know what I'm talking about? But I'm glad that I did, because the parlay video very much so was a success. You know what I'm talking about? If individuals put in prelim parlays, main card parlays, whole card parlays, and operated by the swap out option in certain areas, you very much so should have been able to secure a bag in some way, shape, form, or fashion, as I was able to do so on the app and in parlay ticket fashion. You know what I'm talking about? It is what it is, man. And hopefully, with that being said, this week will be yet another success. I was on the wrong side of quite a few picks. You know what I'm talking about? 11 fights. I only had 10 picks in. I didn't get a pick in for the Zaleski versus Zachary fight. And I went 3-2 on the prelims and 3-2 on the main card. But we already knew that was a high possibility with, the dogs that I took on the prelims. And the one dog and the favorite who was, swap out option was applied. So I was still able to secure, a bag as far as that was concerned. You know what I'm talking about? With that leg in there. I just had the swap out with, what's his name? Gaston. You know what I'm talking about, over Cortavius. But the two dogs down there, Claudia, horrible. Antonio, horrible. You know what I'm talking about? And we are in a doghouse, and when it comes to these fights that I want absolutely nothing to do with, based off of levels of opposition, or how they're coming into the UFC, or for whatever reasons I want absolutely nothing to do with these fights, those are normally the fights that I'll say, man, I want nothing to do with this fight, complete pass, but for the sake of a pick, I'll go ahead and side with, the dog at this level of opposition, and woo, 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 woo. And those are usually, more times than not, those are the picks that I find myself on the wrong side of. But those are also the picks that I do my best to properly prepare myself parlay-wise to have proper parlay placement as far as being on the wrong side of those picks. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. Maybe moving forward, I won't, on my complete passes, I won't take so many dogs. You know what I'm talking about? And we can get this little right to wrong, correct to incorrect ratio, and back on track and run these numbers up, man. You know what I'm talking about? But let's go ahead and dive into this, man. A lot heavier on the prelims than the main card. Obviously, there's more fights on the prelims than the main card, man. You know what I'm talking about? But, you can catch Oban and Chris. I like Oban and Chris. You can catch Oban and Chris, two legs at plus 266. Oban being a favorite and Chris being a dog. I like Oban and Marcus, two legs at plus 162. If you like Oban, but you're unsure of Marcus, and you like Jonathan as a slight dog, those two legs come at plus 232. So Oban and Chris, 266. Oban and Marcus, 162. Swap out Marcus, Oban and Jonathan Martinez, 232. A little dog play, you know what I mean? If you like Jonathan as a slight dog and Bezel as a slight dog. Bezel is from the tri-state. He's not a, he not a New York. He not a New Jersey boy. He a Pennsylvania boy. He a Philly boy. You know what I'm talking about? But he from the tri-state. So if you think he's worth a little dog shot in the dark, you can wrap him with Jonathan if you like Jonathan as a dog. And those two legs come at plus 413, man. Chris and Marcin, hey man, they both are better all-around mixed martial artists than their opponents, in my personal opinion. So Chris and Marcin, those two legs, those two dogs, dog play, come at plus 364. Chris, Marcin, and Mickey, they come at plus 735. And Chris and Jim, another two-leg tri-state dog play. Two dogs, I'm highly confident, are going to come through. And I don't necessarily believe Chris is going to continue to be this big of a dog leading up the fight night, because people are going to bet him on that price. And Jim Miller as well, he's another one. He's a tri-state baby, you know what I'm talking about? So and he's Jim Miller. He's the fucking legend. If this thing goes the full 15 minutes, if it goes the distance, more times than not, Jim Miller's going to edge him out and get that nod, man. So Chris and Jim at plus 382, you know what I'm talking about? Chris, Marcin, Mickey, and Bezel plus 1904, or just Chris, Mickey, and Bezel. Keep that heavyweight out the mix and stay with them tri-state kids. You know what I'm talking about? Chris, Mickey, and Bezel, they come at plus 902. You know what I'm talking about? I got a 5-pack on here somewhere for all 5 of the tri-state individuals. You know what I'm talking about? You can catch Chris, Mickey, Jim, and Bezel. You know what I'm talking about? You can catch those 4 for plus 1984. You know what I'm talking about? And where is it, man? I know I had all 5 of them together, man. It's on here somewhere. Bezel, Mickey, Chris, Jim, and John. John Jones, Jim Miller, Chris Weidman, Mickey Gall, and Bezel Hafez. That's, a tri-state 5-pack for plus 2326. Or, you could just take, where's he at? You could take Jim out the mix. Bezel, Mickey, Chris, and John, they come at plus 1063. John, Chris, Jim, and Mickey, they come at plus 908. Or swap out and put the other boy in there. Lost his fucking name. Ramiz, you know what I'm talking about? But yeah, that was the little tri-state packs, man. Back on over here, man. My bad, y'all. If y'all trying to, really crack these prelims open, you know what I'm talking about? And you like these tri-state individuals, and you like Jonathan Martinez as a dog as well, you can catch Chris Weidman, Mickey Gall, Bezel Hafez, Jim Miller, and Jonathan Martinez at plus 4361, all on the prelims. You know what I'm talking about? You can add Marcin in if you want to get spicy, and that comes at plus 8822, and that's Chris Weidman, Mickey, Bezel, Jim Miller, Jonathan Martinez, and Marcin Tybura. You know what I'm talking about? With Marcin, Jonathan, Jim, and Chris, and Bezel all being dogs for plus 1822. Mickey being a slight favorite. Bezel's a dog, Jim's a slight dog, Weidman's a dog, Marcin's a dog, and Jonathan Martinez is a dog. Boy, oh boy. You know what I'm talking about? Chris, Mickey, Bezel, Jim, Jonathan, and Veronica. You know what I mean? If you like Chris Weidman, Mickey Gall, Bezel Hafez, or however you say Bezel's name, Jim Miller, Jonathan Martinez, and Veronica, they come at plus 7,184. Swap out Veronica for Eduarda, and Chris, Mickey, Bezel, Jim, Jonathan, and Eduarda come at plus 9893. You know what I'm talking about? If you like them two Brazilians, Chris, Mickey, Bezel, Jim, Jonathan, Eduarda, and Denise come at plus 17,700. You know what I'm talking about? Or you could just leave Eduarda out of there, and Chris, Mickey, Bezel, John, Chris, Mickey, Bezel, Jim, Jonathan, Denise come at plus 7,846. You know what I'm talking about? Now, if you like all of these favorites for the most part, man, to be the ones that get it done, Oban and where's it at? Veronica, Oban, Mickey, Denise, Damon, Eric, and Marcus for a sweep on the prelims. All favorites though. That's suggesting that no dogs are gonna bark. You know what I'm talking about? That's Veronica and Oban, Mickey and Denise, Damon and Eric, and Marcus McGee at plus 3,658. Now, if you like all of those, for the most part, but you're like me and you like some dogs to bark, and if you know, you like Jonathan Martinez to be one of those dogs because he is a, you know, probably the livest dog on the card, man. You know what I'm talking about? And swap out option is absolutely necessary. But Veronica, Oban, and Mickey, Denise, Jonathan, Chris, and Jim. You know what I'm talking about? They come at plus 8,310. So all favorites on the prelims sweep for plus 3,658. But if you keep them favorites intact, but you get Chris Weidman, Jim Miller, and Jonathan Martinez to bark, they come at plus 8,310. You know what I'm talking about? Something light, man. Nothing major. You know, nothing too major, man. You know what I mean? When you talking about the prelims for me, you know what I'm talking about? Give me Oban, give me Chris. Listen, we in New York. This ain't fight night Philly. We in New York. Bezel is from the tri-state. He's not from up top. He's not a Jersey boy. He's not an NY boy like Jim Miller or John Jones or Mickey Gale. You know what I'm talking about? So, or Chris Weidman. You know what I mean? Those four, very much so, right up there. They in their backyard. They at fucking home. You know what I'm talking about? Bezel, not so much so. And not so much of a big following. And just not so much so. You know what I'm talking about? So for me, on the prelims, I like Oban. You know what I'm talking about? I like Chris Weidman. I like Jim Miller. And I like Marcus McGee. And those four come at plus 1164 for me. Then I swap out Marcus McGee. And I do Oban Elliott, Chris Weidman, Jim Miller, and Jonathan Martinez for plus 1506. You understand what I'm saying to you? I have something, you know, on both of them as far as the prelims are concerned. I'm confident in Jim Miller, and I'm confident in Chris Weidman. As underdogs, they're two of my most confident picks on the card. You understand what I'm saying to you? So the fact that I'm catching them at a plus money number and then Oban Elliott's at minus 180, come on, man. I love those three. And then Marcus McGee, that money line, mandatory swap out option applied, so it doesn't matter to me which way that out, you know, which way that fight goes. Jonathan Martinez is at a plus money number, so he boosts it. Marcus McGee, that's a lovely number, so it's, you know, it's love, man. I'm all over Oban Elliott. I'm all over Chris Weidman and Jim Miller, and then you can give me Marcus McGee and swap him out with Jonathan Martinez. Oban, Chris, Jim, and Marcus plus 1164. Swap out Marcus for Jonathan, Oban, Chris, Jim, and Jonathan plus 1506. I'm all over that, man. I'm all over that. You know what I'm talking about? You can give me that all day long. And as far as tri-state packs that I'm all over, give me John Jones, give me Chris Weidman, give me Jim Miller, give me Mickey Gale, and give me, you can give me those four right there at plus 908. And I'm dropping something on that. Go half a man. Go half a man. You know what I'm talking about? Drop that. Boom. And then I'm going to add a fifth leg for plus 1469. And it's going to be Oban Elliott. You know what I'm talking about? And I'll drop something just a little bit later on that. Maybe a quarter water, a little $25, $5 a head. I'll drop $50 on the four-legger, and I'll drop a little $25 on that five-legger, man. You know what I mean? Hey, plus 908, I might just drop $40, $10 a man on the four-legger on the tri-state play. You know what I'm talking about? and then $25 on the 5-legger at plus 1469. Just something light, man. Cause I'm on the Oban, Chris, Jim, and Marcus with the swap out option with Oban, Chris, Jim, and Jonathan. Heavy, you know what I'm talking about? So I come down here and I'll take that plus 908 for the Tri-State 4-pack. John Jones, Chris Weidman, Jim Miller, Mickey Gale, you know what I'm talking about? All Jersey and NY boys, hometown. I'll take that at plus 908 and I'll drop a little 40 on it, you know what I'm talking about? Because I have so many other motherfucking parlays and I'm putting together, man. At the end of the night, they all add up. I don't gotta be dropping $100 on every fucking parlay, a unit, a half a unit on every parlay. I could take a little unit and drop $40 on a 4-legger, $25 on a 5-legger. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe $20 on a 6-legger, and $20 on an 8-legger, and $5 on a 10-legger, and let that $100 do what that $100 do. I'm invested into this over here, and then I go ahead and start working on the main card, and then putting some whole card parlays together, and I'm probably gonna be invested about $450, $500 into this card. But I'm looking to bring that back to about $4,500, $5,000. You know what I'm talking about? We gonna smack on this motherfucker, man. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, I'm on that for the prelims. Oban, Chris, Jim, and Marcus. Swap out Marcus for Jonathan. Oban, Chris, Jim, and Jonathan. I'm all over that. The Tri-State pack. John Jones, Chris Weidman, Jim Miller, and Mickey Gale at plus 908. I'm on that. Then I toss in the 5th leg. John Jones, Chris Weidman, Jim Miller, Mickey Gale, and Oban Elliott, because I can see that decision going the other way. Like I said, he a Philly boy. He not a up top boy. He not a Jersey boy. He not in his backyard. He's not home. You know what I'm talking about? And Oban Elliott stuffs those takedowns, maybe secures a couple of his own, edges him out. He can secure that decision. If it's highly competitive and closely contested in that Mickey Gale fight, Mickey Gale's going to take it, regardless of how I feel about him. You know what I'm talking about? So it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? Now, when we talking about this whole card, you feel me? When we talk about it now, let's talk about this main card real quick. My bad, I'm all over these motherfucking prelims. I got shit all over the place, man. If y'all like these favorites on the main card, go ahead and sweep. Right now, they come at plus 163. You can catch all of those favorites at plus 163 on the main card and do what you want to do with that. If you like that, that's Bo, that's Ruffy, that's John, that's Kareem, and that's Charles at plus 163. You know what I'm talking about? If you're unsure about John and you like Stipe and you want to swap out option, Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, Charles, and Stipe come at plus 1033. You know what I'm talking about? So with John, those 5 come at plus 163. You swap out John for Stipe, they come at plus 1033. You want to leave the main event alone. Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, and Charles right now come at plus 126. If you swap out Charles for Mike, because you feeling Chandler, they come at plus 393, 4 legs for almost 4 times your money. So Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, and Charles are plus 126. You swap out Charles for Mike, they're plus 393. Now I'm talking about, now if you really want to get spicy, you can go Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, Mike, and Stipe. Ew, at plus 2369, 2,369. And that's saying that Stipe Miocic is going to bark and Michael Chandler is going to bark. You know what I'm talking about? Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, Mike, and Stipe at plus 2369, man. You know what I'm talking about? Dog play, obviously, for the main card. For me, the only logical dog play comes at plus 1,400, and that's Stipe and Mike wrapped together. You know what I mean? Just give me Stipe Miocic and Mike Chandler. Obviously, just the money line on Stipe Miocic is bettable too. You know what I'm talking about for a dog play. But to make it a bit juicier, if you wanted to throw motherfucking Stipe and Mike in there, you can catch them at plus 1,400. You know what I mean? Not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to the main card. More so on the prelims. It's a lot more, going on down there as far as confidence levels are concerned. Swap out options being applied. You understand what I'm saying to you? Whole card, we got some shit going on. Dog plays, not a whole lot as far as what I can see. I can see Chris Weidman barking. I can see Jim Miller barking. I can possibly see a night maybe where Bezel barks. You understand what I'm saying to you? I can see all kinds of nights where Marcin barks, as long as he just goes in there and does what he did to Tai Tuivasa, work the wrestling and grappling angle. He'll get Denise down, and once he gets Denise down, he'll work for that finish and probably find it relatively quickly. You know what I'm talking about? So I can see Marcin barking. You know what I'm talking about? I can see Chris barking, Jim barking, Jonathan Martinez most of all barking. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there's a lot of dogs that can bark, but a lot of these dogs that can bark, a lot of these lower confidence, you know what I mean, picks, I guess you might want to call them, they're on the prelims, man, for the most part, for what most people are comfortable with. Me, two of my most confident picks are Jim Miller and Chris Weidman, and they're both underdogs, and we just wanted to see where them dice lay this week. You know what I'm talking about? Outside of that, I'm not really worried about being on the wrong side of any of my picks, with the exception of Jonathan Denise and Mickey Gale. You know what I mean? Like, I mean Jonathan Denise and Ramiz. Like, I picked Jonathan Denise and I picked Ramiz based on a fade of Mickey Gale. You know what I'm talking about? But that's another, that's another thing I'm gonna have to work on. You know what I'm saying? When dealing with fights that I don't really want anything to do with, based off of who's in them, the level of opposition that's competing, and how I feel about them, I gotta stop letting that get in the way. You know what I'm talking about? Because much like where this fight is taking place is much like when the fights were taking place over there in, Canada. When it comes to Mickey Gale and Jim Miller and some of these individuals, man, Chris Weidman, Mickey Gale, Jim Miller, John Jones, like, when it comes to those individuals, because Bezel's really of no significance as of yet in the UFC, and I don't necessarily believe that he's ever really going to be. But when it comes to John Jones, Jim Miller, I'm talking about Chris Weidman and Mickey Gale, man, for the following he has out there, they very much so, in my personal opinion, are the side to be on. You know what I'm talking about? And with the Marcin and Denise pick, it is what it is. I know Marcin is the better all-around mixed martial artist. He should be able to find the finish inside the distance via submission. If he doesn't, maybe he gets clipped in the second or the third. Maybe he rinses and repeats and rides out a decision. That's on me. But I'm properly prepared for being on the wrong side of the Denise versus Marcin top Europe pick. You know what I'm talking about? Marcin, by far, in my personal opinion, the more well-rounded mixed martial artist, and has undeniably faced the higher level of opposition. And again, when the threat is evident, much like it was with Ty, he'll just come out there and implement that all-around game and search for that submission. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm prepared to be on the wrong side of that pick. If I was pick switching, which I'm not, I'd have pick switch, but I'm not. These picks have been out. You know what I'm talking about? And Denise is the pick. I'm standing on it, but I'm properly prepared for being on the wrong side of it. You know what I'm talking about? Ramiz was the pick. Not switching nothing, but I'm properly prepared, just like I'm properly preparing y'all, as y'all can see in this video, for being on the wrong side of that pick. You know what I'm talking about? It is what it is. It's going to be highly competitive, closely contested for the level of opposition that it is, for the tier that these two young men are on. And Mickey Gale is the hometown favorite for sure in this matchup. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm prepared to be on the wrong side of that one. Marcus McGee and Jonathan Martinez is what it is. Is what it is. You know what I'm talking about? I get it, you know what I mean? Jonathan Martinez, he's by far faced a higher level of opposition. He's beaten the higher level of opposition as far as what anything that Marcus has had to face as of yet is considered. You understand what I'm concerned? You understand what I'm saying to you? But if we're being funky, while Jonathan Martinez does have some good wins, boy, oh boy, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that Jose Aldo loss. I was all over Jose Aldo as a dog, and he did what he needed to do to get us that bag. You know what I'm talking about? But, you know, we could really do without the other losses. We could do without Davey Grant knocking you the fuck out, and we could do without both Andres grinding you the fuck out. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we could really do without Andre Suckamai, whatever the fuck, Andre S. And then Andre Yule, come on, man. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. We could do without that. And we can do without the Davey Grant knockout. You understand what I'm saying to you? I only say all of that to say that, yes, while he does have some very legitimate and very nice wins on his resume, he has some his losses are, for the most part, with the exception of Jose Aldo, his other three losses are suspect, man. They are suspect, and they are not necessarily via a higher level of opposition or a more dangerous individual than what I rate Marcus McGee to be. Marcus McGee is dangerous, and styles make matchups. That's why I'm on the side of Marcus McGee, because Jonathan Martinez is vulnerable, man. He can get touched, he can get scooped up, he can get I believe he can be the, Marcus McGee can be the first one to get him out of there inside the distance via submission. But the way I watched it, I'm sure a lot of y'all watched it when he fought Davy Grant. You know what I'm talking about? Listen, man, if Davy Grant can do that, and Davy Grant got a bit of pop in his shots, but Davy Grant's kind of like Damon Jackson. And Damon Jackson, I mean, like, that's kind of how I see a Davy Grant. Like, he got a bit of pop in his shots. He can be dangerous at times. He's well-rounded and solid, man. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we can do without these losses. So for somebody to think it's outside the realm of possibility for motherfucking Marcus McGee to come in here and secure this dub via submission, much like both of the Andres did, or find a finish via KO, TKO like Davy Grant did, or be the first one to find a submission inside the distance, you'd be absolutely fucking crazy, and you'd sound ridiculous to me, man. You know what I mean? Styles make matchups. You never take that. You never fight a higher level of opposition until you do, and then it's up to you to prove you deserve to get that call and you belong where the fuck you are. You know what I'm talking about? And I believe Marcus is going to step up and make that point. You know what I'm talking about? But the swap out option will be applied, man. Swap out option will be applied, man. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, man, I'm solid with my picks, man. I know there's a danger in the Charles and Chandler fight, but I still like Charles to be the one to get it done via submission this go around. I like John Jones via submission. I like the Bull Ruffy to get it done. I like Kareem Silva via submission. You know what I'm talking about? Or unanimous decision. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, I like Chris Weidman. He's the better all-around mixed martial artist, and he's a dog. I like Jim Miller. He's the better all-around mixed martial artist, and all the credentials and everything that comes with Jim Miller. If it goes to the cards and it's highly competitive and closely contested, that hometown hero is taking that dub. You know what I'm talking about? And I can get behind Mickey Gale. You know what I'm talking about? As another hometown hero around that motherfucker, man. It's I'm highly confident in this card, man. You know what I'm talking about? Veronica worries me a little bit. Veronica does worry me a little bit. She's a favorite, and she worries me a little bit. Women's MMA, as of right now, slated as the first fight of the night. Question marks. All kinds of reasons to just leave that fight alone. Let's run that back. I can honestly maybe see myself being on the wrong side of the Veronica Hardy pick. You know what I'm talking about? I don't like to believe so, but I can see it. Eduardo went, what, like 4 or 5 out of 26 takedowns in her last matchup? I mean, it's all about can Veronica stuff that many incoming fucking takedowns. That was a 3-round fucking fight. You know what I'm talking about? She went whatever for 26 on fucking takedown attempts. She is fucking relentless. She is just going to keep coming. Veronica Hardy is not necessarily a high-volume fighter. She likes to pick her own shots. She likes to pick her shots. She's sharp as far as her IQ is concerned. She's smart in there. She doesn't overcommit, you know what I'm talking about? But she's not a high-volume striker. She's not somebody that really sits down on her shots and causes a lot of fucking damage. So she's not necessarily that dangerous. And she's somebody who likes to implement her own all-around body of work by mixing in the takedowns. I don't know that she really wants to mix in the takedowns with Eduardo. Eduardo might be a bit more dangerous for her down there in that department. And mixing in might be exactly, mixing yourself right into her wheelhouse. Because obviously going whatever out of 26 takedowns in 3 rounds, you're a female Merab Dwashvili. You're a machine. You're in there just trying to fucking, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Get it done, get it down, get it done, get it down, get it down, and get it done. You know what I mean? Like, you just going. And maybe she can overwhelm Veronica. You know what I'm talking about? And get a split, majority, unanimous. Maybe we find ourselves in a draw type situation. Who knows? Because it's not like Veronica going to stuff the majority of the incoming takedowns like her last opponent did. Stuffed almost 20-some takedowns and still kept the volume numbers up over 100 on strikes landed. Veronica doesn't land over 100 strikes when she doesn't have takedowns coming at her. You know what I'm talking about? So to think that she's going to be able to go crazy on the volume numbers while shucking off a bunch of fucking takedowns, you'd be a little bit out of your fucking mind, man. You know what I'm talking about? So I am worried a little bit about being on the wrong side of the Veronica pick, the wrong side of the Ramiz and Denise pick. You know what I mean? And the Martinez, you know what I'm saying? But the swap out options are applied, and it is what it is, man. Other than that, I'm highly confident in this card, man. And I know it wasn't a whole lot for the main card. It was a hell of a lot more for the prelims, but it's a lot more going on the prelims as far as confidence level is concerned. You know what I'm talking about? That main card, again, real quick for DogPlays. If you like Stipe and Mike, they come at plus 1,400. If you want to throw them in a little parlay, Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, Stipe, and Mike coming plus 23.69. Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, and Charles coming plus 126. You swap out Charles for Mike. Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, and Mike coming plus 393. Bo, Ruffy, John, Kareem, and Charles for an all-favorite clean sweep on the main card as of right now is still at plus 163. If you swap out John for Stipe, it's at plus 1033, and that's Bo, Ruffy, Kareem, Charles, and Stipe. You know what I'm talking about? Now, when we talk about this whole card, man, you know, I like Bo, Ruffy. If we're talking about putting these heavy favorites in something and trying to get a nice number real quick, you can give me Bo, Ruffy, John, Charles, Oban, Mickey, and give me Chris and Jim as my two dogs. You know what I'm talking about? And that comes at plus 25.57. You know what I'm talking about? Bo, Ruffy, John Jones, Charles, Oban, Mickey Gale, Chris Weidman, and Jim Miller as your two dogs to bark and pop the fuck off in their backyards. 2,557 is the plus money number on that. You know what I'm talking about? And if you like John, Charles, Bo, Kareem, Ruffy, Oban, Mickey, and Jonathan as your one dog, they come at plus 1,477. Or you swap out Jonathan for Marcus like I did, and they come at plus 1,142. So much like I am heavily invested, you know, into my prelim, Oban, Chris, Jim, and Marcus at plus 1164. Then I swapped out Marcus for Jonathan, Oban, Chris, Jim, and Jonathan at plus 1506. And my tri-state 4-pack, and then my tri-state 4-pack with an added leg to make it 5 legs. John Jones, Chris Weidman, Jim Miller, and Mickey Gale at plus 908. Then I toss in Oban Elliott for John Jones, Chris Weidman, Jim Miller, Mickey Gale, and Oban Elliott at plus 1469. I'm on all of that right there the same way I'm on Bo, Ruffy, John, Charles, Oban, Mickey, Chris, and Jim at plus 25.57. And John, Charles, Bo, Corinne, Ruffy, Oban, Mickey, and Jonathan at plus 14.77. And swapped out Jonathan for Marcus at plus 11.42, man. You know what I'm talking about? I also like Oban and Chris and Oban and Marcus. Oban and Chris are plus 266 and Oban and Marcus are plus 162. Swap out Marcus, Oban and Jonathan are plus 232. I like all of that as well. You know what I'm talking about? And, you know, DogPlays, I can get behind Chris and Marcin, man. You know what I mean? I can get behind Chris, Marcin, and Jim. I can get behind Chris and Jim. I can get, you know, I can get behind quite a few of these light little dog plays, man. You know what I'm talking about? I like Ruffy, Bo, John, Corinne, and Charles on the main card, man. I like them at plus 163. No swap out option being applied for me. I'm standing on my pick. I'm standing on my shit with John Jones, man. Huh? This ain't nobody else. And I get it. I get it. Stipe. You know what I'm talking about? But John Jones is John Jones, man. And when it comes to the main card, when it comes to any parlay that I have John Jones as a leg, maybe this shit'll cost me and maybe I had to pay for it. But I highly fucking doubt it. I'm standing on it, man. You know what I'm talking about? No swap out option applied for me. Just give me Bo, Ruffy, John, Corinne, and Charles at plus 163. You know what I'm talking about? Only swap out option I could possibly see myself getting behind on that main card would be Bo, Ruffy, Corinne, and Charles at plus 126, or swap out, you know, Charles from Mike at plus 393. But I'm confident in all of them that I would just swap out that on the 5th leg. You know what I mean? Like I would do Bo, Ruffy, John, Corinne, and Charles at plus 163. Or I would do Bo, Ruffy, John, Corinne, and motherfucking Mike at plus almost 3 something. You know what I'm talking about? Almost 3 times your money. Like that's the only one I would swap out is Mike. I'm solid on Bo. I'm solid on Ruffy and Corinne. And I'm solid on John. You know what I mean? The only question, light little question mark might be on that main card for me would be the Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira fight. Other than that, I'm solid up there, man. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm very okay for the most part with mixing what's up there. You know, Bo, Ruffy, John, and Corinne with what's down here and making some things happen. You know what I'm talking about? I'm going to be tapping back in, too, today because I'm getting ready to slide out of here in a little bit, cash out some motherfucking tickets, handle some business, and put in some early bird parlays. And when I come back from that a little bit later on in the day, I'm going to tap back in, and I'm going to go ahead and get at y'all with some, you know, with my personal parlays, man. That way y'all can see where I'm at with it and what I got going on. And if you so choose to tell, then tell. If you want to argue them legs, I'm not arguing in any way, shape, form, or fashion. They're already locked the fuck in. The cash is already on them, and I'm standing on them. You know what I'm talking about? Listen, John Jones, Charles Oliveira, Bo Nickel, Kareem Silva, Mauricio Ruffy, Marcus McGee, Mickey Gall, Oban Elliott, Chris Weidman, and Jim Miller. That's my Hail Mary toss of 10 legs at plus 5,894. I swap out one individual, Marcus McGee, for Jonathan Martinez's plus money number. And then I get those 10 legs at plus 7,218. You know what I'm talking about? So it's plus 5,894 for John, Charles, Bo, Corinne, Ruffy, Marcus, Mickey, Oban, Chris, and Jim. You know, or we boost it up a bit with that plus money number and we go John, Charles, Bo, Corinne, Ruffy, Mickey, Oban, Jonathan, Chris, and Jim. You know what I'm talking about? And that plus money number from Jonathan on that plus money number with Chris and Jimmy just takes it even, you know, further through the roof. So I am absolutely 100% okay with that swap out option being applied. But if I'm being all the way honest with you, man, I'm solid on the rest of them. So you can give me them, wrap them up, and lock them up, man. You know what I mean? Wrap them up and lock them in. I'm going to be tapping in here shortly with my most confident picks. You know what I'm saying? I guess I'm going to do most confident picks / most confident underdogs / call this motherfucker final thoughts. We going to do it like that, man. And kind of knock all of that shit out the way. And go ahead and get after it. You know what I'm talking about? And if anything changes, you know, rearranges midweek, and any of these fights get shifted to the main card or shifted to the prelims in any way, shape, form, or fashion, I will be tapping back in based simply off of fucking principle to do another parlay video to shuffle and reset, rearrange, and get after it, because I will already have all of my early bird parlays put in for the prelims, the main card, and the whole card. But if something changes and it shuffles, that's just me. It won't sit right. If I have these prelim tickets and these main card tickets, but now they're really whole card tickets because somebody's on the prelims or somebody's on the main card, I have to readjust. I will not be comfortable. I will not be comfortable if I do not motherfucking operate by the motherfucking, you know, the little structure that I have going on, man. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just like that, though. I don't have notifications on. Like, the only time I see my messages or anything like that is if I go ahead and tap in real quick to the tube and see if I got anything notifications up there. Like, I don't like numbers all over my fucking phone. They bother the fuck out of me, man. You know what I'm talking about? It's not neat. It's scattered. It look messy. I don't like that shit, man. When it's, oh, you got so many, you know, emails and so many messages and you got all these notifications on Facebook and this number sitting on Instagram and this number sitting over here and this number sitting, man, that shit fucks my head up. It bothers me. You know what I'm talking about? So I turn all my notifications all the way off, man. You know what I'm talking about? I turn them bitches all the way off, man. But, you know, if something happens and something gets shuffled around, I will be tapping back in to readjust and redo some new prelim parlays and main card parlays and just go put, you know, something light on them, because my other ones are already being, and as long as everybody secures the bag, they secure the bag. It's just me. It's my little pet peeve, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm talking about? It just bothers me. I gotta have my strictly prelim plays and my strictly main card plays and then my whole card plays, or I just feel all fucking balanced. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's it, man. I ain't mean to hold y'all here hostage for too long. My bad. My apologies. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, it is what it is, man. A lot of more action on the motherfucking prelims as far as what's happening, because there's more fights and the confidence level is a bit, you know, not as much. Plus you take that and you mix it with the money lines, you know what I mean? They just not, you can't do as much, you know what I'm talking about? So there was a lot more action and activity as far as the betting and parlaying and the options are concerned on the prelims, you know what I'm talking about? And it is what it is, man. I like who I like. I'm highly confident in them, extremely confident in others. Don't see nights where some of them can lose at all. So it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? As far as my picks are concerned, like I said, we talked about which ones we have the possibility, or I have the possibility of being on the wrong side of, and we've probably prepared for that, man. You know what I'm talking about? So it is what it is. That's that with that. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. I hope everybody's Sunday has kicked off properly. For all of y'all waiting for them kickoffs, best of luck with any bets and parlays. You know what I'm talking about? Stay tapped in. Peace and blessings.